Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Modern Moms Roadmap to Balance podcast. I'm your host, Kayla Nettleton, and we're continuing our journey into the Love After Kids series. And one thing that I wanted to address first is, are y'all doing okay? For me, it's like the last week of school for my kids. My son actually ended school last week. And this is the final week of school for my middle child. I know this episode releases Tuesday, but I'm recording this the Thursday before. So Friday is the last day of school also for my daughter. She's going to be transitioning into a new school next year. So there's a lot of emotions, there's a lot of stress, a lot is happening for us over here. And I know that many of you might be feeling the same way, even if your kids aren't starting a new school, like starting a new grade, that can be a lot, especially if they're transitioning to elementary school or middle school or high school. Like a lot is going on. A lot can happen in the last few weeks of school. I mean, for us, like there was so much that popped up. Even from outside of school, we had a soccer tournament last week that was very last minute. And right now we're in another soccer tournament this week. And my son might have a game tomorrow. So it's just a lot of stuff happening. And it's one of those things, like I think I had even seen a reel. If I can find it, I'll go back and post. And I don't even know what the song was. But it was something along the lines of, oh, right, like you don't have anything to do. Let's do all of these other things. And it's just all of the stuff. It was really trying to highlight all of these things that can pop up at the end of the year. And so as we go into summer, because this is initially started off as a podcast focused for moms, like I know a lot of us moms can have a lot on our plate, especially in the summertime. And so I usually take a pause on the podcast during the summertime because it's hard to find guests in the summer because they're also with their kids. People are vacationing. And this is also a really great opportunity for you, if you're kind of newer to listening, to go back and listen to the other episodes that we've recorded, the other episodes I recorded with guests. And I promise, like in this next year of the podcast, so in August, when we come back to releasing new episodes, I'm going to have more guests. There might be a little bit of changes in the direction of the podcast because I've really been loving the conversations around couples and deepening the connection and regaining that connection after kids, because this is such an important topic to talk about. And one of the reasons I feel strongly about that is your marriage is so important to the stability of your family. And I strongly believe too that if we have strong marriages, then moms are also being strongly supported. And I'm a huge advocate for women and moms being supported in the way that they need the support. So that's part of the reason why I really want to kind of like dive deeper into this direction, and also recognizing some of the things that men are also needing in support and kind of learning how to connect with their emotions, and also coming to terms that connecting with your emotions doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be emotional in that negative term that people think when we're thinking about emotion, right? Like when someone says, oh, you're just so emotional, usually what they're meaning is like, you're so out of control, right? It's not that emotions are bad. I mean, that person's probably thinking that, but you can be emotional without having your emotions being the one in control. I hope that's landing. Like you can be able to experience your emotion without your emotions being the driver of your behavior. Let me say that again. You can experience your emotions without having your emotions being the driver of your behavior. And I think that's where many of us kind of fear. Like if I'm in touch with my emotion, if I am feeling emotions and being emotional, that means that I'm going to be out of control. And all of this stuff is kind of twisting around in my head of how can I help you as a couple, you and your husband, you and your wife, like how can I help y'all get connected while also gaining a deeper understanding of yourselves? Because I'm also like a huge believer that in order for us to build connection with each other, we also have to have a connection with ourselves and an understanding and acceptance of ourselves. And yes, those things can happen at the same time, but if we don't have the greatest relationship with ourselves, or if we are so out of touch with our needs and our desires, then it's really going to have an impact on your relationships. Because what happens is we then turn to our relationships to fill those needs that we can't even fully grasp or vocalize what those are. And when we can't do that, like when we can't vocalize our needs, or when we're not like in tune with ourselves, it really messes with our relationships. But what you can do about it, like what is helpful, is learning more about yourself, learning more about your needs on a level to where you can then vocalize and give examples of those things, like real tangible examples. I know in the last episode, the last two episodes really, I highlighted a freebie that I recently created to help you verbalize what your needs are, and then also be able to reflect on what does that look like in real life. Like we can say, I need to feel supported, but in what way, right? Because my version of being supported is going to be very different than your version of being supported. And that might also look different for your partner. So when you say, like, I really need you to support me, what's going to happen is they're going to support you in the way that they probably want to receive support. And that builds disconnection, because then the argument happens of like, I told you I needed you to support me, but you're not supporting me. And then your partner's going like, oh, well, I thought I was supporting you, because they don't have tangible examples of what we often mean. And part of that is sometimes because we don't even know what that really looks like for us, what we actually mean. And so I hope you are taking care of yourself in this season of craziness that often comes with the beginning of summer. And I know for our kids, summertime is the time to like have fun and rest and relax. But oftentimes the drivers of that is the parents, which can sometimes mean that we're running and trying to figure out how to give them this fun and relaxing time. And so that often means that I want you to try and pay more attention to yourself, the things that are coming up for you, and making sure that you're doing things to support yourself and also give you some space and relaxation as well during this crazy time. But one thing I really wanted to highlight today is a new group that I've created for women in their 30s and 40s who are married and who want support in figuring this stuff out. When we struggle with communicating what our needs are, or we think we're being clear, but things are not necessarily clicking for our partner, it's not always our partner. Sometimes our version of being clear is not necessarily clear, but the only way to know that is if we take the time to really process and reflect on our own communication. And one of the ways to get that is through a process group. Okay? And so what is a process group? An interpersonal process group or process group is a great space for those looking to dive deeper into their emotions and connect with others in a safe, supportive environment. So let's break that down even further, okay? So these process groups are designed to help you explore your emotions and the dynamics of your relationships with others. While people in the group often share some commonality, so in this particular group that I'm talking about, the commonality will be your married women in your 30s and 40s. And part of the benefit of this group is that other people in the group might not be people that you will have met outside of the group, or maybe people that you might not have even connected to or tried to connect to outside the group. And the real magic of process groups is in the way that they can help you gain a deeper understanding of your self-awareness, especially when it comes to understanding how your interactions with others play a role in your personal growth. So in these groups, as participants, like the participants guide the discussion, and myself, being your therapist and facilitator, I'm there to offer insight into how what's being discussed can apply to your relationships, both with others and with yourself. So let me talk a little bit about the benefits of an interpersonal process group, okay? So some of these benefits include gaining clarity on how you impact others and how they impact you, becoming more aware of your emotions as they come up in real time. So like in the group, as you're going through this process group, things are going to come up for you, and that's what we're going to explore. Other benefits are receiving support and validation from others who can relate to your experiences, feeling safe to be vulnerable and explore your emotions, connecting with people who face similar struggles or have had similar experiences, develop important skills like empathy, communication, and collaboration, and holding yourself accountable for behaviors or thought patterns that are negatively affecting your relationships. So if you're still wondering, like, well, I don't know, is this process group for me? Some questions that you might ask is, if you're unsure of whether this type of group is right for you, like, take a moment to ask yourself some of these questions. Do you want to understand more about how your actions affect others and how others' actions affect you? Do you struggle with assertive communication? Do you often worry about how others think of you? Do you find it difficult to identify or express your feelings? If you answered yes to any of those questions and you are looking to connect on a deeper level with other people and you want to grow, then a process group is likely the right group for you. And this group in particular that I'm talking about is specifically for women in their 30s and 40s who are married and who are likely struggling in their relationship in a way that they're wanting to have a deeper connection with their spouse, but it hasn't happened. And some of the common challenges that we're going to explore are feeling like you're the only one trying, saying I'm fine when you're actually not, feeling like you're doing it all, but also feeling resentful for it. Maybe you're struggling to express your needs without guilt, or maybe you fear conflict or being seen as too much. And so like my hope is that by being a part of this group that you'll walk away with tools to express yourself clearly and calmly, increased confidence in setting boundaries and speaking your truth, a space to be supported and not judged, connection with other women who get it, and a renewed sense of self and clarity about your needs. And this is going to be a virtual group. So although I am based in Del Rio, Texas, you do not have to be in Del Rio to be a part of this group. You just would need to be in Texas to be a part of this group. So if you or someone you know in Texas would benefit from this group, you can schedule a consultation, or if you prefer, you can also join the wait list and I'll contact you directly. But scheduling a consultation will, one, also get you on the wait list, but it lets me know even further that you have interest in the group, and we would have a conversation about that to see if this would be a good match for you. But I know that the idea of a group can feel scary, but what I want you to understand is being a part of a group can be so much more beneficial than individual therapy, especially if you've been in therapy before and have learned skills. There's a lot of stuff that we're not really aware of because in society, we don't give feedback to each other, right? Like if someone rubbed us the wrong way, we're taught to kind of just ignore it and not to really tell them, especially if they didn't do this on purpose. For one, we don't know. And then two, we're just supposed to ignore it and walk away and like just never have those people in our life, right? Well, in the group, we're exploring our dynamics with other people in the group and our interactions and how we respond to each other and the things that come up for us. And so in that, we learn to vocalize these things with each other. Not to say that that's how you're supposed to act and respond outside of the group, but there's real power and clarity that can come from verbalizing all of the things and noticing all of the things that are coming up for you. So if you are already in individual therapy, this also can be a great addition to the therapy that you're already receiving, because I would likely be in contact with the therapist that you're working with so that we can continue with the best treatment for you. But I'm very, very excited for this new group. And I recently sent out an announcement to my email list for a men's group that I'm also doing. I'm not going to really talk about the men's group here, but I'll put the flyer for the men's group. I'll attach it to the show notes. It's going to be very similar, except it's going to be for men. But for the men's group, you don't have to be married, and it's not limited to like 30s and 40s. So there's a little bit of a difference. So I'll put the information for the men's group. So if you know someone who would be interested in that or who is looking for some type of support, because oftentimes it can feel like us as women are doing all of the work, and I wanted to create a space for men to have the opportunity to do that work for themselves as well, for those who are wanting more for themselves in their relationship. So I hope that you have a smooth summer and that your plans go as planned. And if they don't, that you can navigate them easily. Again, like I said at the beginning, we are going to pause the podcast for the summer. I may or may not have like one episode, maybe in June and July, just to kind of like say, hey, but we will definitely for sure be back in August. But again, this is really to give myself a break and give me some time to find some other great guests to appear on the show. And of course, if you ever have any questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to me at kayla@kaylaniddleton.com, or you can also find me at therapy.with.kayla on Instagram or TikTok. And if you enjoyed the show or know someone who would benefit from the show, please send it over to them, share this episode, and good luck with your summer.